Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Miss Donovan. This is math class today. It is Tuesday. It's actually Monday right now, but you will be watching this on Tuesday, unless you watch it late tonight when I send it. But we are moving on, excuse me, from addition and subtraction now to multiplication of integers. And I think you'll find this a little bit easier than adding and subtracting. There's not nearly as many rules to remember with multiplication. So we are going to start by multiplying integers with different signs. So we'll look when we have one positive and one negative, and then later on we'll look at when they both have the same sign. So when you're multiplying with different signs, because multiplication is just repeated addition, we can use a number line to show that 3 times negative 6 means that we're adding negative 6 3 times. So negative 6 plus negative 6 plus negative 6 is negative 18 here. Now, this is on page 149 in your books. So if you need to, you can pause right now and go grab your book so that you guys can take notes as we look at our examples. But in words, the product of two integers with different signs is always negative. So if you are multiplying a positive and a negative, it will always be negative. So 3 times negative 6 or negative 3 times a positive 6, if you have one of each, your product will always be a negative number. So if we look at an example here, and we want to multiply negative 7 times 5, opposite signs, all we have to do is multiply the two numbers. And since this is a negative, my answer will be negative. So now I can see my drawings. The last video I couldn't see it, and now I can. I don't understand this computer. But we can look at this another way. We can use a number line. So we can count negative 7 5 times and see that it goes to negative 35. We can use this rule that if they have different signs, the result is negative. So there are a few different things you can do when you are multiplying, and that is on page 150. So you guys can try the check problem right in the middle of page 150 and find that product. But again, not every multiplication problem is just going to be simple facts. Here, we'll do this really quick. If you have 7 times negative 12, again, all we have to do is multiply 7 times 12, which is, do you remember your 12 facts? Because you need to know your multiplication tables. You might want to practice some flashcards to review. But this is 84, and since I have one positive and one negative, then the answer is negative. So anytime you have one of each, your answer will be negative, always. You will see problems like this sometimes. Oh, this one moves finally. We haven't had one that moves in a long time, but this one you can see the submarine is descending, is diving from the surface of the water and descends at a rate of 90 feet per minute. So watch, there it is, and there it's going, 90 feet per minute. How far will it be after 11 minutes? So if it's descending 90 feet per minute, I'll let you watch that one more time. There it goes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 minutes, think about it. Then we could say that it's going down 90 feet, so negative 90 feet per minute times 11 minutes. And again, since these are one positive and one negative, then the product will be a negative number. And now we just have to multiply these two. So 11 times negative 90 is 990, but since it's a positive times a negative, opposite signs, then our answer will be negative. So it will always be negative when we have one of each. Now if we have integers that have the same sign, So for instance, a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative, well, we're going to see what happens here.
You can use a pattern to show that the product of two negative numbers is positive. The product of a positive number and a negative number is negative. Use this relationship to start a pattern. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. Notice that when you decrease the first factor by 1, the product increases by 3. Next, use the multiplicative property of 0 to continue the pattern. 0 times negative 3 is 0. Again, notice that when you decrease the first factor by 1, the product increases by 3. Now continue the pattern to negative numbers. Decrease the first factor by 1 and increase the product by 3 to get negative 1 times negative 3 equals 3. Repeat. Decrease the first factor by 1 and increase the product by 3 to get negative 2 times negative 3 equals 6. The pattern shows that the product of two negative numbers is positive.
So you see what's happening here. We have a positive times a negative, negative, positive times a negative, negative. But then once we switch here, a negative times a negative ends up actually being positive. Negative times a negative is positive. So when we multiply two things, two negative numbers, we actually get a positive number. And you guys already know that a positive times a positive is positive. You've been doing that for years. 3 times 4 is 12. 8 times 9 is 72. But now negative 8 times negative 9 is also positive 72. What's happening here? Why? Nope, doesn't want to. Okay, anyway, the signs of the integers are the same. So the quotient, that should say product is positive, and it won't let me type in the number. Okay, there we go. That's weird. So we've got all those there. So if they have the same sign, then the answer is going to be positive. So a negative times a negative, they both have the same sign. This will be positive 66. Okay, so pretty basic. That was on page 152. So on page 152, there is a check problem right in the middle that you guys can try now too. So pause the video and try that check problem. Okay, two other things. Again, sometimes you're not just going to be asked, what is this times this? But we want to evaluate this expression, x times y. So when they're right next to each other, this means we're multiplying the two. So x times y, I'm going to first write the expression, and then we're going to replace x with negative 14 and y with negative 7. So we are multiplying now a negative times a negative. So since the signs are the same, the product is positive. And 14 times 7 is 98. So our answer is positive 98. Again, all we're going to do is substitute those values into the expression. And then the last thing for today on page 153, example 5, when we multiply three or more integers, all you're going to do is multiply them 2 at a time. So you can fill in on page 153 these boxes, but we can either multiply the negative 4 and the negative 7 first, if we want. So that would give us positive 28. And now we have, so these were the same signs, so our answer is positive, but now we have a positive and a negative. So our final answer is going to be negative 56. So you just multiply 2 at a time. So this times this is positive, but then a positive times a negative makes our final answer negative. So when you're multiplying 3 or more, you're just going to multiply all of them together. And that is all for today. You guys can try the check problem on the middle of page 153, and I will be looking for that right next to that check problem, draw a picture. Any picture, as long as it's appropriate. And let me see what you drew, and I will check that on Wednesday when I look at your notes. All right, have a good rest of your day, guys. And don't forget to comment down below, like and subscribe, all that jazz, whatever. You don't really have to do that. But this has been another episode of Math Class with